Taylor Swift has finally addressed the speculation that has dominated global entertainment headlines for months. In a rare and direct acknowledgement, the pop superstar confirmed the truth behind her relationship with NFL star Travis Kelce, offering a candid look into a romance that has quietly captured public attention. Her words were simple, but powerful. "This is real." The statement immediately resonated across the music and sports worlds, marking the first time Taylor Swift openly validated what fans and media outlets had only pieced together through appearances, gestures, and fleeting moments caught on camera. Until now, the relationship existed in a gray area, highly visible, yet never officially defined by Swift herself. According to sources close to the situation, the story began far from the polished image of celebrity romance. Travis Kelce first attempted to connect with Taylor Swift after attending one of her concerts, an effort that did not immediately lead to a meeting. There was no instant spark broadcast to the world, no viral interaction. Instead, the connection developed quietly, away from public expectations, long before cameras took notice. In her remarks, Swift described Kelce as someone who entered her life without trying to control the narrative. Unlike past relationships shaped by intense scrutiny, she emphasized that this one unfolded naturally. Kelce, she said, did not seek attention through her fame, nor did he attempt to insert himself into her public image. His presence, according to Swift, felt grounded and genuine, qualities she described as increasingly rare in her world. Public interest escalated when Swift was seen attending Kansas City Chiefs games, cheering from the stands as cameras tracked her reactions in real time. Each appearance sparked waves of commentary, with analysts and fans debating whether the relationship was authentic or strategically amplified. Swift addressed those assumptions directly, stating that her decision to show up was personal, not performative. She further reflected on how her past relationships often became public narratives before they were allowed to be private experiences. Over the years, romance had become something expected to follow a dramatic arc, complete with speculation, judgment, and eventual conclusions shaped by public opinion. That pattern, she admitted, had been exhausting. This time, Swift explained, things were intentionally different. From the beginning, she and Kelce reportedly agreed not to manufacture moments for publicity. There were no planned appearances, no coordinated reveals, and no attempts to fuel headlines. When they were seen together, it was because they chose to be present in each other's lives, not because they were managing an image. Her declaration, "This is real," was not merely a confirmation of relationship status. It served as a boundary. Swift made it clear that while her life may exist in the public eye, the foundation of this relationship does not depend on public validation. For her, the significance lies in consistency, trust, and emotional safety rather than spectacle. Industry observers and fans alike have noted a shift in Swift's tone and demeanor. Many interpret her comments as evidence of a new phase in her life, one defined less by narrative drama and more by emotional clarity. Rather than presenting love as a pursuit filled with uncertainty, Swift now speaks of it as something steady and lived in. Despite her ongoing global tour and relentless media presence, Swift's acknowledgement revealed a quieter perspective. She portrayed her relationship with Kelce not as a headline-driven romance, but as a personal connection that happens to exist in public view. It is, by her own account, not flawless or exaggerated, but sincere. The response to her confirmation has been widespread, with supporters praising her transparency and restraint. While public fascination continues, Swift appears resolute in maintaining a distinction between what she shares and what she protects. By choosing to speak plainly, Taylor Swift has effectively closed the chapter on speculation. She did not offer details designed to satisfy curiosity, nor did she frame the relationship as a spectacle. Instead, she stated a fact, calmly and deliberately. And with that, the message was unmistakable. This is not a rumor. This is not a phase. As Taylor Swift herself put it, this is real. Beyond the headlines, Swift's confirmation has sparked broader discussion about how modern celebrity relationships are perceived and consumed. In an era where personal lives are often treated as public property, her decision to frame the relationship in restrained, factual terms stands out. Rather than offering intimate details or emotional dramatization, Swift positioned the story as a matter of truth, not entertainment. Sources familiar with the situation describe the relationship as one built gradually, without the urgency that often accompanies high-profile romances. While both Swift and Kelce operate in industries fueled by visibility, their connection reportedly developed through ordinary interactions, conversations away from crowds, shared routines, and mutual respect for each other's demanding schedules. Those close to them suggest this balance has been a key factor in sustaining the relationship under intense scrutiny. Kelce, for his part, has previously spoken about the pressure of sudden global attention. While accustomed to fame within the sports world, his visibility expanded dramatically once linked to Swift. Insiders say he approached the situation with caution, prioritizing privacy and consistency over publicity. That approach appears to align closely with Swift's current mindset, shaped by years of navigating public narratives that often overshadowed her personal reality. The cultural impact of the relationship has been notable. Television broadcasts began dedicating airtime to Swift's appearances at games. Merchandise sales surged, and social media engagement spiked across both fan bases. Yet Swift's recent comments suggest a deliberate attempt to pull the focus back from spectacle to substance. By confirming the relationship without embellishment, she effectively removed the mystery that fueled constant speculation. Music industry analysts have also weighed in, noting how Swift's personal stability could influence her creative direction. While she has not directly linked her relationship to upcoming projects, observers point out a shift in how she speaks about love and partnership. Rather than framing romance as conflict or transformation, she now describes it as presence and continuity, an evolution that reflects personal growth rather than artistic strategy. From a public relations standpoint, Swift's handling of the situation has been described as calculated in its simplicity. Instead of issuing a formal announcement or staged reveal, she allowed the truth to surface organically, addressing it only when speculation reached a peak. This approach limited misinformation while avoiding overexposure, reinforcing her reputation for controlling her narrative without over-explaining it. Fans have responded with a mix of enthusiasm and relief. Many longtime supporters see the relationship as a departure from the cycles of intense attention and backlash that marked earlier chapters of Swift's romantic life. Online discussions increasingly frame the relationship as healthy and grounded, emphasizing mutual support rather than drama, at the same time. Swift's comments have reignited conversations about boundaries between public figures and audiences. By stating "this is real" and little more, she implicitly challenged the expectation that authenticity must be proven through disclosure. Her message suggested that truth does not require constant access, and that reality can exist independently of public approval. As the relationship continues to unfold under the global spotlight, both Swift and Kelce appear committed to maintaining a sense of normalcy. Reports indicate that they prioritize time away from cameras whenever possible, relying on trusted inner circles to preserve balance. While their schedules often keep them apart, sources say communication and mutual understanding have helped bridge the distance in the broader context of celebrity culture. Swift's confirmation may mark a subtle shift. Rather than feeding the attention economy, she chose to acknowledge reality and move forward. The absence of spectacle has, paradoxically, made the story more compelling, less about fantasy, more about truth. For now, neither Swift nor Kelce has indicated plans to further elaborate on their relationship. And that silence, following such a clear confirmation, appears intentional. It reinforces the idea that not every chapter needs narration, and not every truth needs amplification. What remains is a relationship that exists at the intersection of fame and privacy, watched closely yet firmly grounded in personal choice. By addressing it once plainly, Taylor Swift closed the loop on speculation while opening a new understanding of how public figures can assert control without retreating entirely from view. In a media landscape driven by constant revelation, her message stood out for its restraint. 2 words were enough to redefine months of rumors and reshape public perception. Not because they revealed everything, but because they revealed exactly what was necessary. And as attention inevitably shifts to the next headline, Swift's statement continues to echo with clarity. This is not a storyline constructed for attention, nor a moment engineered for reaction. It is, by her own definition, simply real. The confirmation has also influenced how both industries, music and professional sports, intersect in public discourse. Analysts note that the Swift-Kelce relationship represents a rare convergence of two massive fan ecosystems, each with its own culture, expectations, and intensity. Yet despite the scale, Swift's restrained acknowledgement prevented the story from escalating into manufactured drama, allowing it to settle into something closer to normalcy. Media observers point out that Swift's wording was especially deliberate. By avoiding emotional excess or romantic grandstanding, she reframed the narrative away from fantasy and toward credibility. In doing so, she subtly corrected months of exaggerated assumptions without invalidating public curiosity. The result was a recalibration of tone, less gossip-driven, more factual, aligning the story closer to traditional news than celebrity speculation. Industry insiders also emphasized timing. Swift chose to speak when interest was already at its peak, not at the beginning of the rumors. By waiting, she allowed the story to mature before intervening, ensuring that her confirmation carried weight rather than feeling reactive. This approach is consistent with her long-standing pattern of selective transparency, where silence is used as strategically as speech. Behind the scenes, those familiar with Swift's inner circle describe a period of recalibration in her personal life. Following years of intense touring, re-recording projects, and public scrutiny, stability has become a priority. Her relationship with Kelce, according to these sources, aligns with that shift, less defined by momentum, more by intention. Kelce's role in this dynamic has drawn particular attention. As a high-profile athlete accustomed to press coverage, he nevertheless operates within a different media ecosystem than Swift. Observers suggest that his grounded public demeanor and straightforward communication style may have contributed to the relationship's lower volatility. Rather than engaging with speculation, he largely allowed actions to speak for themselves. The broader public reaction continues to evolve. While initial coverage focused heavily on appearances and symbolism, attention has gradually shifted toward interpretation and context. Commentators increasingly frame the relationship as an example of how public figures can acknowledge personal truth without surrendering privacy. In that sense, the story has taken on significance beyond celebrity news. From a cultural standpoint, the relationship has become a case study in modern fame. Swift's confirmation challenged the assumption that visibility requires explanation, or that authenticity must be performative. By offering clarity without access, she reasserted agency over her narrative, a move widely praised by media critics. The economic ripple effects have also been noted. Broadcast ratings, merchandise sales, and social engagement all experienced measurable increases during periods of heightened attention. Yet Swift's statement effectively decoupled those metrics from her personal life, reinforcing the idea that commercial impact does not need to dictate emotional disclosure. As weeks pass, the absence of further commentary has become part of the story itself. Neither Swift nor Kelce has expanded on the confirmation, and that restraint continues to define the narrative. Rather than fueling ongoing speculation, the silence has normalized the relationship's presence in public view. Entertainment journalists suggest that this may represent a turning point in how celebrity relationships are covered. Instead of chasing constant updates, coverage has shifted toward analysis, reflection, and broader cultural implications. Swift's single statement, paradoxically, provided enough closure to reduce the demand for continual revelation. For longtime followers of Swift's career, the moment carries added resonance. Her evolution, from coded lyrics and guarded interviews to a direct, uncomplicated acknowledgement, signals personal growth. It suggests a shift from storytelling as defense to truth as boundary. In the end, the significance of the confirmation lies not in what was revealed, but in how it was revealed. Swift did not attempt to redefine romance, nor did she dramatize it. She simply affirmed its existence. In doing so, she altered the trajectory of the conversation around her private life. As the news cycle moves forward, the relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce remains present but no longer speculative. It exists as a fact rather than a question, a reality rather than a rumor. And in a media environment driven by uncertainty, that clarity has proven unusually powerful. The story continues, not through constant updates, but through consistency. No grand announcements, no escalating reveals, just two public figures navigating visibility on their own terms. That approach, understated yet firm, may ultimately define this chapter more than any headline ever could. And so, with the noise fading and the narrative settled, Swift's words retain their impact. Not because they invited attention, but because they ended speculation. In a world that thrives on ambiguity, her message was definitive. This is real. As coverage stabilized, attention began shifting toward what this confirmation reveals about Taylor Swift's evolving relationship with fame itself. Media scholars have noted that Swift's career has long been intertwined with public interpretation. Her music, her relationships, even her silences often dissected for meaning. By choosing a brief, declarative confirmation rather than a detailed narrative, she altered that dynamic, placing limits on interpretation without withdrawing entirely from public view. Several entertainment outlets have highlighted how this moment contrasts sharply with earlier periods of Swift's life, when her romantic relationships often became central talking points in broader cultural debates. In those eras, public reaction frequently shaped the aftermath of her personal choices. This time, however, the response appears more restrained, reflecting a shift not only in Swift's approach, but also in how audiences consume celebrity news. Observers point out that the language Swift used was intentionally neutral. She did not frame the relationship as transformative, dramatic, or defining. Instead, she positioned it as a present reality, something happening now, not something being sold as a narrative arc. This subtle distinction has influenced how the story continues to be covered, with fewer speculative angles and more contextual analysis. Within the sports world, the reaction has followed a similar trajectory. Travis Kelce's profile has expanded significantly since the relationship entered public awareness, yet analysts note that his professional performance and public messaging have remained consistent. Rather than leaning into celebrity crossover, Kelce has largely maintained focus on his career, reinforcing the sense that the relationship exists alongside, not instead of, their individual identities. Sources close to both parties suggest that this balance has been intentional. The relationship is reportedly structured around mutual independence, with neither party expected to absorb the other's public role. That approach, insiders say, has helped prevent the type of narrative imbalance that often destabilizes high-profile partnerships. As the initial surge of attention faded, a new phase of coverage emerged, one centered on longevity rather than novelty. Commentators began asking not how the relationship began, but how it is being sustained. The answer, according to those familiar with the situation, lies in predictability and routine, qualities rarely associated with celebrity relationships but increasingly valued by Swift herself. Industry analysts also note the implications for Swift's brand. For years, her public image has been closely tied to emotional storytelling, both in music and in media portrayal. This moment, however, suggests a recalibration, one where emotional clarity replaces emotional exposition. Rather than inviting audiences into the details of her personal life, Swift now appears focused on defining its boundaries. The shift has resonated particularly with audiences who have followed her career across multiple eras. Many interpret the confirmation as evidence of maturity rather than revelation. Online discourse increasingly frames the relationship not as a spectacle, but as a footnote to a much larger narrative about agency, control, and self-definition. From a journalistic perspective, the story has become notable for what it lacks. There are no competing statements, no conflicting timelines, no corrective follow-ups. The absence of contradiction has allowed the confirmation to stand uncontested, a rarity in celebrity reporting. In effect, Swift's brief acknowledgement has proven more conclusive than extended explanations often as months pass. The relationship continues to exist within public awareness without dominating it. Swift remains focused on her professional commitments, while Kelce continues his athletic career, each maintaining momentum independent of the other. Their occasional appearances together are treated less as events and more as context, noticed, but not inflated. Cultural critics argue that this may signal a broader shift in how high-profile figures navigate visibility. Rather than oscillating between secrecy and oversharing, Swift has demonstrated a third option: selective confirmation without elaboration. This approach acknowledges public interest while resisting its demands. The long-term impact of this strategy is still unfolding, but early indicators suggest it has reduced speculation rather than intensified it. By addressing the question directly, Swift removed the uncertainty that fueled constant commentary. What remains is a relationship that is visible, acknowledged, and largely undramatized. In many ways, the story now functions less as celebrity news and more as a reference point in discussions about privacy in the digital age. Swift's confirmation has been cited in editorials examining how public figures can assert truth without surrendering autonomy. Her choice to speak plainly and then stop speaking has been widely interpreted as deliberate as the news cycle inevitably moves on. The relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce persists without narrative escalation. It does not rely on milestones announced to the public or moments staged for attention. Instead, it exists quietly within the larger framework of their lives. Ultimately, the enduring significance of Swift's statement lies in its restraint. In an environment saturated with constant updates, her refusal to elaborate has become its own form of communication. It suggests confidence not only in the relationship itself, but in her ability to let it exist without explanation. And so, the story concludes not with a twist or revelation, but with continuity. There is no cliffhanger, no unresolved question. The speculation has been replaced by certainty, and the noise by acknowledgement. Taylor Swift said what needed to be said, and nothing more. In doing so, she transformed months of conjecture into a simple fact, one that now stands on its own. This is real. In the weeks following the confirmation, media coverage gradually shifted from breaking news to long-form analysis. Publications began examining not only the relationship itself, but what it symbolized within a larger cultural moment. Taylor Swift's statement was increasingly cited as an example of narrative control in the age of constant exposure, where saying less can often achieve more than saying everything. Communication experts pointed out that Swift's approach disrupted a familiar cycle. Typically, high-profile relationships escalate through staged reveals, escalating exclusives, and carefully timed interviews. In contrast, Swift's decision to acknowledge the relationship plainly, without imagery, emotion-heavy framing, or follow-up commentary, effectively halted that progression. The story reached its peak and resolution almost simultaneously. This restraint has also influenced fan behavior. While early reactions were dominated by excitement and speculation, discussion forums and social platforms gradually transitioned into reflective conversation. Rather than searching for hidden meanings or predicting outcomes, fans began contextualizing the relationship within Swift's broader life trajectory. Many interpreted the moment as evidence that she no longer feels compelled to translate her personal experiences into public narratives. Entertainment historians have noted that Swift's career has been defined by eras, each marked by distinct approaches to visibility and self-expression. From confessional songwriting to guarded privacy, each phase reflected a response to public pressure. This latest development, however, appears less reactive and more settled. The confirmation did not introduce a new persona. It reinforced an existing sense of stability. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce's presence in the story has remained measured. Despite the surge in attention, he has avoided becoming a spokesperson for the relationship. Analysts observe that his limited commentary has complemented Swift's approach, reinforcing the impression that both parties share an understanding about boundaries. Rather than amplifying interest, their silence has allowed attention to diffuse naturally. The relationship's visibility has also prompted discussion about gender dynamics in celebrity coverage. Commentators noted that Swift's past relationships were often framed through narratives of blame, consequence, or artistic inspiration. This time, the framing has been noticeably different. By defining the relationship on her own terms early on, Swift reduced the space for external interpretation. From a media economics perspective, the story has demonstrated how clarity can reduce volatility. News cycles thrive on uncertainty, and Swift's confirmation removed that fuel. As a result, coverage stabilized quickly, shifting from speculative reporting to contextual commentary. In an industry driven by constant updates, this plateau is unusual and instructive. Some critics argue that the simplicity of Swift's statement was itself a strategic move, reflecting years of experience navigating public scrutiny. Others see it as a natural outcome of personal growth rather than calculation. Regardless of interpretation, the effect has been the same. A relationship acknowledged, but not commodified. As time passes, the confirmation continues to be referenced not for its content, but for its tone. Journalism schools and media analysts have cited it as an example of effective message framing, clear, concise, and final. Unlike many celebrity statements that invite further questions, Swift's declaration closed the conversation rather than opening it. The absence of escalation has also changed expectations. There are no anticipated follow-up interviews, no countdowns to official appearances, no speculation about symbolic gestures. The relationship exists within public awareness, but it does not demand attention. This equilibrium has become part of its definition. Observers suggest that this may reflect a broader fatigue with performative intimacy in celebrity culture. Audiences, increasingly aware of manufactured narratives, appear receptive to authenticity defined by restraint. Swift's confirmation resonated not because it revealed something new, but because it respected the audience's intelligence as coverage thins. What remains is context. The relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is now understood as one element within two complex careers, not a defining storyline. It does not overshadow Swift's artistic output or Kelce's athletic achievements. Instead, it coexists with them. In retrospective commentary, several outlets have noted that the phrase "this is real" gained power precisely because it was not surrounded by explanation. It functioned as a period, not a preface. In a media environment accustomed to ellipses, the finality was striking. Ultimately, the continued relevance of the story lies in its resolution. There was no reveal arc, no dramatic turn, no prolonged ambiguity. The confirmation arrived, did its work, and receded. That trajectory stands in contrast to the endless churn of modern celebrity news. As the public moves on to new headlines, Swift's statement remains a reference point, a reminder that not every truth needs expansion, and not every reality requires documentation. Sometimes acknowledgement is enough. The relationship continues quietly, outside the demands of constant narration. And in that quiet, the meaning of Swift's words endures, unchanged by time or interpretation. It is real. As the story settled into public consciousness, a broader reassessment of Taylor Swift's public evolution began to emerge. Commentators increasingly framed the confirmation not as an isolated moment, but as part of a longer pattern in which Swift has steadily redefined her relationship with visibility. For years, her personal life had often been treated as an extension of her art or her brand. This time, however, the separation was clear. The relationship existed, was acknowledged, and then deliberately left alone. Media analysts noted that this approach subtly challenged the attention economy. In a system that rewards constant updates and emotional escalation, Swift offered neither. Her confirmation provided certainty without spectacle, clarity without intimacy. That choice reshaped how the story functioned in the news cycle, transforming it from an ongoing drama into a resolved fact. Within entertainment journalism, the shift was noticeable. Coverage moved away from conjecture and toward interpretation, examining why the statement resonated rather than what it revealed. Writers emphasized that Swift's words carried weight precisely because they resisted elaboration. By declining to narrate the relationship, she removed the scaffolding that typically supports prolonged speculation. Industry insiders also highlighted how this moment aligned with Swift's current professional posture. At a time when her career is marked by unprecedented scale and autonomy, her personal decisions appear similarly grounded in control. The confirmation did not coincide with an album release, a tour milestone, or a promotional cycle. It stood apart, reinforcing the sense that it was not instrumentalized for professional gain. Travis Kelce's continued restraint further reinforced that impression. Despite increased media interest, he maintained focus on his athletic commitments, addressing the relationship only when necessary and without embellishment. Observers suggested that this mutual consistency contributed to the story's rapid stabilization. Without competing narratives or contradictory signals, the public had little reason to speculate further. As weeks turned into months, the relationship became part of the background rather than the foreground. Occasional sightings generated brief attention, but no longer carried the urgency of discovery. The novelty had been replaced by familiarity, a transition rarely achieved so quickly in celebrity culture. Swift's early and definitive acknowledgement played a central role in that outcome. Cultural critics argued that the moment reflected a growing audience preference for authenticity defined by limits rather than access. In contrast to oversharing trends, Swift's approach suggested confidence in letting truth stand without reinforcement. This resonated with fans who have matured alongside her career, many of whom now value stability over spectacle. The confirmation has since been referenced in broader discussions about narrative fatigue. In an era saturated with personal disclosures, Swift's minimalism was interpreted as a corrective. Her statement demonstrated that resolution does not require exhaustive detail, and that public figures can engage honestly without surrendering privacy. From a historical perspective, the episode marks a departure from earlier cycles that often surrounded Swift's romantic life. Those cycles were characterized by prolonged commentary, symbolic interpretation, and eventual backlash. This time, the absence of drama altered the trajectory entirely. There was no rise and fall arc, only acknowledgement followed by continuity. Newsrooms also took note of the effect. Without new developments to chase, coverage naturally tapered off. The story's lifespan was shorter, but its clarity was stronger. Editors described it as an example of how decisive communication can limit misinformation and reduce narrative distortion. As the media landscape continues to evolve, Swift's confirmation is increasingly cited as a model for managing public interest without inflaming it. The effectiveness of the approach lies not in secrecy, but in precision. She answered the question directly, then withdrew from the conversation. The relationship itself, meanwhile, continues outside the rhythms of coverage. It is not framed by milestones announced to the public, nor by symbolic gestures interpreted for meaning. Instead, it exists as a known constant, present, acknowledged, and undramatized. For Swift, the moment represents more than a relationship update. It reflects a recalibration of how she engages with the world. Rather than allowing narratives to form around her silence, she chose to speak once, clearly, and then move forward. That decision reshaped not only the story, but the expectations surrounding it.as attention shifts elsewhere. The significance of the confirmation remains intact. It is remembered not for its emotional weight or narrative flourish, but for its restraint. In a culture accustomed to amplification, the simplicity was disarming. Ultimately, the story endures as an example of how